Hello and welcome to episode 6 of the Millennium Pod, a Star Wars podcast by me, Ari, at ari.in.space on TikTok and at the Millennium Pod, all one word, on Instagram. This week, I have a very special guest, one of my first, I'm going to call him internet friends. And why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know where we can find you on social media.
Right. Hi, everybody. I'm Sidney. You might know me as Rebel_Ray from TikTok. Ari, I've known Ari for a long time. She was one of my first mutuals on the app. So this is exciting. I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you. So the title of this week's episode is called I Have the High Ground, which you can imagine probably means we're going to be talking about a very particular character. Of course, we're talking about Obi Wan Kenobi. I think he's fantastic. I haven't given a lot of thought to his character specifically, which is why I'm super excited for this episode. But I know you have. I know you're a huge Obi Wan fan. Do you want to just briefly describe why you like him so much and what he means to you?
Obi Wan has always been one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite character. What stands out to me is just he is so good. He's been through so much, experienced so much loss and hardship, but he's, always remained firmly in the light, even after everything he's gone through. He's never even been tempted by the dark side, and that he's just good. He cares, and I love that about him.
Yeah, definitely. Which that kind of goes into, I guess, my first question, which was going to be very broad. What makes him a good Jedi? And I mean, I guess for me personally, it would be like what you said. He's never been tempted by the dark side. He's had every reason really to be tempted to go to the dark side. He's dealt with a lot, but at the same time, he never has. And so I think that's one thing that makes him a great Jedi. But I would love to hear what you think specifically about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd argue that he's the best of the Jedi, or at least the Jedi that we see in the prequels. They're still good people who do good, but they still have, their flaws, and he's no different. He's not a perfect character, but out of those Jedi, he's probably the closest to what a Jedi should be. I mean, he's kind, he's good, he's a protector, he's a fierce fighter, but he cares. He might not show it a lot, but he definitely cares about Anakin and Ahsoka and the other Jedi and Cody and his men and all the clones. Like he cares deeply. Satine, yes.
Yeah, of course. Let's not forget about Satine. Yeah, I definitely agree. And I feel like what's interesting though is he cares a lot, but at the same time, he doesn't let that get in the way of what he is supposed to be doing, which is why I would argue he is, like you said, one of the better Jedi, because a lot of them care 100%, but they do let that get in the way. Like obviously someone like Anakin, we already know he let his feelings get in the way. But even like someone like Ahsoka would be sometimes clouded by judgment, like her own personal judgment. So I think that really does make him a great person, but also a great Jedi, because he's able to kind of keep his own personal feelings at bay.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a really good comparison with him and Anakin, that they clearly do both love, but Obi-Wan is able to, put his duty to the order, that he knows that he serves a greater purpose, and he puts that purpose above his own personal feelings, where Anakin obviously is not willing to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Would you, if you had to pick, if you had to find a flaw in Obi-Wan, what would it be? Because I can think of some, but I would like to hear what you have to say first.
I think his flaws are some that are shared by the rest of the Jedi Order, that he is still very much answers too much to the Senate, even though he doesn't, obviously doesn't like politicians. He answers too much to the Senate and probably too much to the Council. We saw what happened when he just didn't really fight the Council during the whole Reiko Hardeen arc, and ended up faking his death. If he would have told the council to where to put it, or just shove it and said, no, I'm not going to fake my death, or at least just gone behind their back and told Anakin.
Yeah.
I feel like we honestly could have had a different outcome to the story, because that was like almost cemented Anakin's distrust in Obi-Wan.
I definitely agree. That arc in the Clone Wars and also the arc when Ahsoka was framed, I feel like are two where we see that maybe the outcome could have been different, because like you said, Obi-Wan faking his death and not telling Anakin about it definitely is one factor that cemented, like you said, his mistrust. And then I also think that Ahsoka leaving the Order, which was indirectly caused, well, actually more directly caused by the Jedi Council not having her back, also caused Anakin to turn down this path. And maybe because you can tell in both arcs that Obi-Wan's not really comfortable with what the Jedi Council is doing, but he goes ahead with it anyway because he has that loyalty. Which, I mean, some people might consider that like a good thing. That makes him a good Jedi. He's willing to listen to the council. But I do.
You need to be able to question authority when authority has issues.
Yeah.
And he does in Ahsoka arc. Like he speaks up. I think he does believe Ahsoka, but the council, it's a group vote.
Exactly.
And I think him and Plo Koon were outvoted.
Yeah.
And there really wasn't a lot that they could do about that. Because at this point, it was already an issue with the Senate and the military, and I don't know what they could have done.
Yeah. I guess I just feel like, because I mean, Anakin in that arc specifically, went out of his way to try to prove Ahsoka's innocence, and I didn't get that from Obi-Wan and Plo Koon, but I do understand that their hands are kind of tied, right? They're on the council. There's not a lot they can do. But I do think it's kind of interesting. Obi-Wan's like how loyal he is to the council, because Qui-Gon wasn't, right? And I mean, Qui-Gon was his master, and yes, Qui-Gon died, before the end of his training. But I do think that's kind of interesting, like how different those two Jedi are. Like if you compare Obi-Wan as a master and Qui-Gon as a master, they're very different. Qui-Gon is more impulsive, kind of like Anakin level, whereas Obi-Wan, like you said, is very loyal to the Jedi Council. And I just think it's interesting that he didn't let Qui-Gon's influence, like his master's influence, kind of sway him from being that loyal. I think
kind of, well, so you read Master and Apprentice, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, see, I have not had the chance to do that. I do know a little bit more about their relationship in Legends, not so much their relationship in canon. To my understanding, in Legends at least, Obi-Wan was a little bit more of a wild card. Kind of close to how Anakin is, which I find ironic.
The one thing that is interesting in Master and Apprentice, and I don't think this is a spoiler, it's just basically you pretty much find out that the council put Obi-Wan with Qui-Gon because they knew that Obi-Wan would always go the opposite way of the authority figure when he was younger. And so they were like, well, if we put him with Qui-Gon, this impulsive Jedi who respects the council but also, doesn't at the same time, then that's going to make Obi-Wan want to respect us and follow our way. And we do see that in the Phantom Menace. I mean, he's like, Qui-Gon, we can't train this random child. I mean, obviously he does, but
in a voice of reason a little bit.
Yeah. And so I kind of find that interesting though, in another way. Like, I guess he's just continually loyal because in a way that's like him rebelling against Qui-Gon, and not that he and Qui-Gon didn't have like a good relationship. They respected each other. But when you read Master and Apprentice, you find out that like they were kind of,
they had a rough start, didn't they?
Yeah, they didn't mesh well, I guess is the best way to describe it. It's a really good book. You should read it. And anybody listening,
it's on my list. I need to get to it.
Claudia Gray does a really, really good job of like understanding the characters, at least in my opinion. And it's neat to get like kind of that perspective. And you also get to find out why Obi-Wan actually hates flying, which is also pretty fun too.
Oh, I need to read it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'll let you find it.
I think that I think all how he's so different than he was when he was a Padawan. I think that I don't know if this is canon, but this is kind of how I perceive it, that he was very much affected by Qui-Gon's death. And, he's barely past being a Padawan. He's just knighted, and then they slap a kid on him, which and so he's what, probably like the youngest master in I don't know how long.
Yeah.
He has all this, basically the world thrown on his shoulders all of a sudden. He has to even fight just to have Anakin as his Padawan because the council didn't want him to train Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
So he I think it was that in a comic that he said that if they wouldn't let him train Anakin, he would have just left the order. Or if Anakin, no, it was Anakin just wanting to leave the order at one point.
Yeah.
And he would have left the order with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think you're right. When I first watched the prequels, I didn't really get the vibe that he cared that much about Qui-Gon Sith, and I don't think they do a very good job in the Phantom Menace of showing how devastated he was. It wasn't until I read Master and Apprentice and the epilogue, because the book takes place, I think it's 8 years before the Phantom Menace, but then the epilogue is like 2 or 3 pages and it's Qui-Gon's funeral, and that honestly, like, that hurt me to read. Like, it was very emotional, and it really just struck me. I was like, oh, this guy actually did care that his master was dead, like, more than I think he lets on. And I think also in the Clone Wars TV show, we get that vibe a lot more, that he was a lot more affected. And I mean, I guess just in general, the fact that he wanted to train Anakin, even though like he originally didn't, but it was Qui-Gon's dying wish. So he was like, well, I'm going to do this. I guess that shows that as well. But
I mean, if it wasn't for Qui-Gon's last wish, I think he probably wouldn't have wanted to, because he's got enough on his plate just trying to figure out how to be a knight.
yeah.
But it's his master's last request, so he was willing to do anything to make it happen.
Yeah.
But I feel like he had to kind of hide that emotion of, because all eyes are on him. The council is probably looking for any reason why he shouldn't have a Padawan, so he's probably has to put on this act to act like he is a knight, so act like he doesn't care, maybe.
Yeah,
the Jedi, that's one of their things, is like it's human nature to care. Everyone cares, even the Jedi, but they somehow have gotten to this point where they think that that's a bad thing, so they pretend they don't, which is where all these issues start going on, when you start suppressing your emotions.
I feel like I could do like a 2-hour episode on just the flaws of the Jedi Council alone, but
I mean, we could do it, but yeah.
I think having Qui-Gon die when he did, and then all of a sudden having to take on Anakin, I think that definitely aged Obi-Wan a lot.
Definitely.
And it's interesting because somebody else in that position would not have done as well, Like, I think
he has so much of emotional strength.
Yes.
Definitely. Again, he didn't fall to the dark side. He has been through Qui-Gon. He has been through Satine. He's been through losing Anakin and everyone he knows.
Yeah, like literally everyone. His entire, like, I feel like the one thing that is really powerful is when he's talking to Cody in Revenge of the Sith, and then like 2 seconds later Cody's firing on him. Like, that alone would be enough trauma, to have like you don't see a lot of their relationship. I like to canonically think in my head that they're
Cody and him were,
right?
Brothers in arms. Like they
were tight. Yeah. And so I feel like that moment alone is enough to send somebody off the wall. And then he's got all these other things going on. Like, I don't blame him one bit for just disappearing to Tatooine after all of that happened. Like,
even just being stuck on Tatooine alone for 15 years, the mental strength that takes to be completely isolated. Yeah. Like, I'm sure he's still like checking in on Luke and talking to Owen and Beru and all this stuff, but like the mental, he's got PTSD, and now he's stuck by himself with nothing but his thoughts to keep him company. It's like, gosh, and he still remains firmly in the light, and that's just takes so much emotional strength.
And it's also really cool, to me anyway, that when Luke does meet him, he's actually like, he could totally play the part of that grouchy old man who's just bitter. Like, he could be like Luke in The Last Jedi level of just, angry, and he's not, he's willing.
He's still Obi Wan. He still has his sanity. He's not a depressed old man. He's still cracking jokes and everything.
Yeah. So
I wouldn't know if he's happy, but he's emotionally there.
Yeah, exactly. He stayed strong, which I think is what makes him so unique in Star Wars, because a lot of the characters have trauma. Well, all of them have some kind of trauma.
All of them have trauma.
Star Wars. But for him, like, he deals with it in such a way that he remains kind and he remains helpful to literally anyone and everyone, which I think is so cool.
Really?
Yeah. I want to talk about a bit Satine, because it's really, when you don't watch the Clone Wars, you have no idea that he has had this whole other thing, right? And I think it's really interesting to see that other side of him and to see the way he deals with that. And I'm also wondering if it's the one complaint I'll say I have about him is that he never did anything to help Anakin really with Padme. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I feel, and in the movies, to me, it's excusable because it's like, oh, well, he doesn't know what love is because he's a Jedi with no attachments, right? But then you find out, oh, he actually does have this very important love interest. And so to me, I'm like, okay, well, first of all, he had to have known what was going on with Anakin and Padme. And I mean, it's basically confirmed in Clone Wars Season 7, Episode 1.
I like to think that the entire 501st and 212th knew, because, like, he's not subtle.
No.
Anakin is not subtle.
Anakin is not subtle at all, but that's the one thing that I've always kind of wondered about is, like, why wouldn't he have, knowing how much, you know, Satine and having that relationship meant to him and how much of a struggle it was to be, you know, a good Jedi, quote unquote. I always wondered why, you know, they didn't go into that more, like him knowing about it in maybe Clone Wars. I mean, obviously the prequels were made and whatever, but I don't know, like, I'd love to hear your thoughts on just like Obi-Wan and his love and how that kind of could have related to Anakin and his love.
I mean, yeah, I think that obviously had a really big impact on his young life. I mean, he obviously really loves Satine, to the point that he would have left the Order for her. But he and I think they both, he and Satine both decided to put their duty above their personal feelings. And so I think Obi-Wan having that history made him kind of understand Anakin and his relationship with Padme, because, you know, he knew.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that he knew what it was like to have that conflict of loving someone even though you're a part of the Order and you're having to serve something greater than yourself. And but unlike Obi-Wan, Anakin continued his relationship in secret. So I think that Obi-Wan did the best thing that he thought he could do. I mean, he could either do nothing or tell the council.
Right.
So he pretended like it wasn't happening.
Yeah.
Because is probably the best thing that he could have done, and he does want Anakin to be happy.
Yeah, that's true. And I feel like that shows, I think Obi-Wan was a good master to Anakin, but I think he was a better brother, you know?
Exactly.
And I feel like another master might have interfered. Like if like Plo Koon, for example, was Anakin's master, I feel like he would have done something.
Yeah.
But I do feel like it also shows, like I said earlier, kind of how fast Obi-Wan had to grow up when he took on Anakin. Like, really, was he ready to be a master? Probably not. Probably not. But yeah, I definitely think that shows how much, you know, they're more friends, brothers than kind of like a mentor. And
I mean, they're not that far apart in age. They're definitely he's more of a brother. Like, so he's trying to protect Anakin, probably, which I think is why he still kind of cautions him against attachments. Kind of, I think he's trying to protect him from getting hurt, either by, you know, him getting found out and having to leave the Order, or his relationship not working out. I think he's still trying to protect Anakin from having to go through the same hard decisions that he had. Of course, Anakin's not really listening a lot, and
Anakin doesn't like to listen. So for me, I think Anakin, like, there's a lot of debate in the Star Wars community of like whether, you know, Qui-Gon would have survived if Anakin would have gone to the dark side, or if he would have had a different master if he would have gone to the dark side. I think that's all irrelevant. I think Anakin was going to go to the dark side no matter what. but I would like to hear you.
Maybe if Palpatine hadn't been involved.
True. Yeah. If Palpatine
was manipulating him since he was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it was inevitable. I feel like Order 66, that was always going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Anakin falling to the dark side maybe could have been avoided if certain things had happened. And one of those things I feel like could have maybe stopped it if Obi Wan actually had confronted Anakin about his relationship with Padme and said, "No, you're my brother.
Yeah,
I love you, and I'm not going to tell the council because I want you to be happy." If Anakin had felt like he had someone else to confide in,
yeah,
maybe he wouldn't have gone to Palpatine when he started having all these visions.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. I feel like, and again, I feel like that just comes with how, not ready Obi-Wan probably was to be a master. Like, he did the best he could with, what he knew, but I do agree that perhaps, if Obi-Wan, and this goes back to obviously like the Reiko Hardeen thing, hadn't, lost his trust, if Anakin hadn't lost his trust in Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan had done a better job of proving like, I'm here for you as your brother, not just as, the guy who was assigned to you by the Jedi Council, who you don't really like, I feel like the outcome definitely could have been different.
Yeah.
Or at least not as severe, but I feel like the way it was set up, there was no chance. Like, I feel like if Palpatine was still there, even if like someone like Qui-Gon ended up training Anakin, I feel like without that trust and Anakin knowing that there was that trust, the outcome would be the same regardless.
Have you seen the behind the scenes show for The Mandalorian?
No, I haven't. I should though. I've been meaning
There is this one part where Dave Filoni, and this is why I love Dave Filoni, because he is essentially George Lucas's brainchild almost. Like he's taught him everything he knows. And it's just one part where Dave Filoni talks about the Duel of the Fates, and why it's called the Duel of the Fates is because essentially Qui-Gon is dueling Maul for the fate of this child.
Right.
And when he lost, it kind of
cemented that.
It cemented his fate.
Right.
And you would love it. You need to watch. I'll send it to you on YouTube because it's this amazing. He's talking about basically the importance of that Qui-Gon had to Anakin and what his death, the importance that his death carried to Anakin's future.
Yeah, I feel like I would definitely like that because I feel like Qui-Gon's often overlooked as how important he was, and obviously, he's one of my favorite characters, so I'd definitely love to check that out. I did want to talk about, before we wrap up, kind of expectations / hopeful things, I guess, for the Kenobi series. Like what do you want to get out of it, and what are your realistic expectations for it? Or maybe you can go realistic first and then what you absolutely just want super bad.
I mean, this is going to be a hell of a show because fans have been calling this for years.
Mm-hmm.
And I have every faith in Lucasfilm and whoever is producing it. I think it was Deborah Chow. I think that they will do an amazing job because all the shows that they've been doing so far are just immaculate. I'm really expecting that we're going to see Obi-Wan dealing with the emotional outcome of the Clone Wars and Order 66 and, having his PTSD. I think that it's pretty likely that we'll get Qui-Gon either in flashbacks or as a Force ghost, telling him, because he's got to learn about Force ghosts.
Yes, exactly.
Somewhere. And I think it's in the Legends novels that Qui-Gon appears to him in the desert as a Force ghost and kind of teaches him how that happens. I know there's a novel. I haven't read it. I don't really expect him to just sit around in the desert all the time because he's Obi-Wan. He can't sit still. I'd love it if he's just running, because Luke is very much his father's son. He's probably getting into all kinds of trouble, and so I'd love to see like Obi-Wan having to like in secret run around and just rescue Luke from all this trouble he's getting into, because that would be, like father, like son. It would be adorable.
That would be amazing.
This, I feel like it's going to be very emotional, though. I feel like it's going to hurt whether we see Cody leading an Empire team to hunt him down.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that would be rough, but that would be very
cool. I expect to either see Cody in either going to be in Bad Batch or Kenobi, and I'm not really expecting him to walk out of it alive, and it's going to hurt. I feel like it would hurt more.
I love how we just have the expectation that people are going to die. That's just
like, it's going to kill me emotionally, but like I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I feel that.
Hayden as not just Anakin but Vader. That's going to be really interesting. Whether, I know there's been a lot of debate on, are they going to have a duel that, the duel we could have gotten in A New Hope.
Yeah.
How that would work, I don't really know, because like he would have to leave Tatooine, so Vader wouldn't know he's on Tatooine.
Yeah. I'm really curious to see how they incorporate like Hayden Christensen in as Vader. Like, I'm really interested.
Probably leading a search for. I mean, maybe we get to see Inquisitors. Maybe they're. He's leading. It's supposed to take place around the same time as Solo, I believe. So the Inquisitors will still be probably active. Maybe he's trying to lead this. All the Inquisitors in this group to hunt down other Jedi, and Obi Wan does something that raises some attention.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be good. I think you're right that Qui-Gon better be in it. That's all I'm saying. Like,
I've heard rumors of Liam Neeson.
Well, I know Liam Neeson wants to, like he said before, he'd be willing to come back to Star Wars. And
is he in the cast? Because I know they just released the cast list. I can't remember. I know the Owen and Beru actor is in it. Hayden's in it.
And then a bunch of random people.
Liam Neeson in it?
No, he's not in the official cast list, but that really means nothing because
it doesn't mean anything.
They kept Mark Hamill from us in The Mandalorian. So like I don't know, I'm trying not to like get my expectations too high, but I think there's a lot of evidence, in the past that just says that Qui-Gon's gonna be in it. I mean, Liam Neeson has already done voice work in the Clone
Wars and the Mortis arcs, yeah.
Yeah, so that shows that he's willing. And then also, I mean, at the end of Revenge of the Sith, Yoda literally tells Obi-Wan, like, you're gonna go to Tatooine and you're gonna commune with like the dead, and Obi-Wan's like, Qui-Gon, like it sets it up perfectly. So I mean, I guess that's obviously my big expectation, but
I mean, there have been a lot of rumors, and I've become skeptical of all these rumors when there's no, because they're like, oh, Lucasfilm source confirms that.
This usually never.
I think 3 of those panned out in The Mandalorian season 2.
Yeah.
And we all got burned on a lot of those other rumors.
Yeah.
So I've just kind of learned, I want to be surprised anyway. So I've kind of learned to take those rumors with a grain of salt, but Liam Neeson comes across as something that could be extremely likely. Another one, I don't know who it was, but it was one of the girls on there had captioned it something about, or other people had commented on her post who were in the cast about something about being a Padawan. So it could be, we could get maybe a young Ahsoka flashback, or like a flashback from the Clone Wars with her and Anakin. Like that would be something that I would absolutely love to see.
Yeah.
Bring back Tamara, just have a Clone Wars flashback with Anakin, Ahsoka, Cody, and Rex. Just like
that would be amazing.
I would be crying so much.
Like if the whole show is just flashbacks of like live action Clone Wars stuff,
I'd be happy.
I'd be so happy. Like
I wouldn't need anything else.
I don't need much, just like a couple of those.
I've seen a lot of people mentioning, oh, Maul come back. That would not make any sense.
No, and I feel like Maul has been, I don't want to say overused because he hasn't been overused. I think, in Clone Wars and Rebels, and like even I guess the end of Solo, like I think he served his purpose like 100%. But I think there comes a time when you gotta just let characters.
If they do a Solo sequel,
yes,
it would make perfect sense.
Exactly.
But the fact that he's still looking for Kenobi years later in Rebels, and then finally finds him on Tatooine, it wouldn't make sense if he fought him again.
Yeah,
years before that on Tatooine.
Yeah, the only way I could really see and accept Maul being in this would be like again in a flashback, but even that, it just feels like I said, I don't want to say overdone because I do love all of like the Maul Kenobi dynamic. I think that's really neat, and I think Maul's a compelling character. But again, I just don't.
It would have to be a flashback with Maul and Satine.
Exactly.
It's just that one specific flashback.
Yes.
And it would make perfect sense.
It would hurt me a lot, so I kind of hope they don't do that. But
it's like I want them to, even though I know I'm gonna hate it.
It's like I want them to, but I don't because I love the pain. But yeah.
I mean, if Dave Filoni is involved in the writing, which he probably has some input or recommendations, you know he will.
Yeah,
it's gonna hurt.
Dave likes to hurt us. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for it. I think it's gonna be great.
We've got a lot to look forward to with Star Wars content over these next couple of years, and I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy the ride, honestly.
Yeah, same. I'm
looking forward to being surprised.
Yes, I completely agree because you know what, no matter how hard we try to predict these things, we're gonna get surprised somehow. So
well, it's better when you're surprised. I mean, imagine if we had gotten Luke coming back in Mandalorian spoil us.
Oh, that's one of my favorite like premiere moments of all time in Star Wars. Like, it was such a great experience. So yeah.
I would give anything to like feel that again. It's like, or just, you know, seen Grogu for the first time, a baby Yoda, just this first episode of season 1, like,
yeah,
surprises mean so much more emotionally.
No, I totally
we all knew Ahsoka was coming, so of course it was still exciting. But like, imagine if we hadn't known.
I think that would have broke the internet, to be honest. Like,
I wish we didn't know.
Yeah, I honestly
we wouldn't have seen Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I mean, Bo-Katan, wasn't expecting Bo-Katan, lost my freaking mind.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It's always better to be surprised, so I'm with you on that. I'm just gonna sit back and, you know, enjoy the ride. It's a good time to be a Star Wars fan these next couple of years.
Absolutely. But I feel like I enjoy the sequels. Of course they had their faults, but like I feel like Disney has very, very much learned their lesson writing wise, and I honestly just feel like we're in very safe hands going forward.
Me too. I definitely agree. I think everything that's coming out looks amazing. Sure, not everybody's gonna like everything, but I'm excited.
I will, I think.
I will too. If it says Star Wars, like if it's branded as Star Wars, guaranteed I'm gonna like it. So.
Absolutely.
But yeah, well, I guess that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today. Thank you so much for coming on. That means so much to me. Yeah, everybody check her out, rebel_Ray on TikTok. I'm gonna tag that in the description as well. But thank you so much for coming. And to our listeners, if you're still listening to us, thank you so much for listening. It means a lot. And I hope everyone's having a great day, night, morning, evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. And as always, may the Force be with you.